What's one thing you wish you knew earlier?
The problem with being your own boss is that you have to be your own boss.
The entire year I didn't work.
Because I thought Japanese people were supposed to be loyal.
Can you actually make a living while running a business in Japan?
Japan. For many foreigners, it's the dream destination. Safety, culture and amazing lifestyle. But in reality, finding a job that sponsors your visa is tough. That's why some foreigners decide to start their own company in Japan. So is starting your own business the solution? My name is Itz, and in this episode I'm talking with expats who have started their own business in Japan. One has built 18 companies over 40 years in Japan. Another left his stable job to become a freelance journalist. And the third came here with no network, no portfolio and spent his full year networking before landing his very first clients. Together they reveal what it really takes to start a business in Japan.
Hey Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, no problem. No, thank you for inviting me.
Welcome Terry.
Yep.
Hey Ozan, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
So you're all a business owners in Japan. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Dan Orlowitz. I'm from the United States. I've been living in Tokyo for a little over 18 years now. I work as a journalist, writer, photographer, content creator.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. My name is Osan. I am a content writing and copywriting agency.
My name is Terry Lloyd. I was born in New Zealand, been here for 43 years. I established 18 companies in Japan. One is a travel business called Japan Travel.
Why did you decide to start your own company in Japan instead of working for somebody else?
In Switzerland, you have, if you have a corporate job, you can make decent amount of money, you can have a good living, but you're going to be at that 9 to 5. There's not much you can do outside of that. And here, if you run your own business, obviously you are like a foreign element.
After I left the last company I was in, I sort of decided, well, this is the time to register as a sole proprietor and work properly as a freelancer and see where it goes. I'm one of those people, if I do the same thing over and over and over again, you get a little bored. So I like having that freedom.
Having the freedom to do your own things and not having a boss sounds perfect, especially compared to the Japanese working culture. But this made me curious, how much does language really matter when starting your own business here?
How important is speaking Japanese when starting your own business in Japan?
Super. Doing most of my media work, it's in Japanese.
You know, if somebody's trying to apply for a job at a company in Japan, if your customers are Japanese and if you don't speak Japanese, clearly they can't market to Japanese. So that's 95% of Japanese companies would not accept that.
It's not just about talking to people and interviewing people, but arranging things. You know, talking to press, talking to media officers. You need to understand how to do business here.
And you can't do that without knowing Japanese?
Every company in Japan is comfortable working in Japanese.
Really?
There's a lot of people who can do it in English, and I think there's some industries where it's easier to do it in English. I think the startup scene is very international forward, and especially if you're doing business with other foreigners, you can get away with it.
And how important is speaking Japanese in your personal life?
There's so much of the country that you'll never discover if you don't speak and read the language. The more Japanese you know, the more doors you will open, personally and professionally.
If you want to live in Japan or maybe even start your own business, learning Japanese is absolutely essential. But it can be quite difficult to learn Japanese through self-study, especially if you're not living in Japan. I believe the best way to learn any language is by speaking with native speakers. That's where today's sponsor italki comes in. Italki is an online learning platform offering personalized one-on-one lessons with native speakers. I've been using italki to take lessons with Japanese teachers since coming back from my study abroad in Japan. And it's been a great learning experience. What I really like is that you can easily find the right teacher for your level, needs and interests. You will be able to have real conversations and start speaking even as a complete beginner. At the same time, you get instant feedback from teachers on where you should improve. My teacher corrects me right away, which makes me much more confident and helps me use authentic expressions.
じゃあ、はじめまして。
はじめまして。
カイトです。よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
じゃあ、レストランで何を食べましたか？
たこ焼きを食べました。とても美味しかったです。
If you say たこ焼きは美味しいです、like it's pretty like a general For example, takoyaki has some sauce and like a bonito flakes on top. So you can describe these detail if you can like add some vocabulary to the sentence.
Yeah, doesn't like give any like context
So.
of why it's delicious.
Yeah, so.
Do you have like one advice to people who would love to study Japanese?
Have some opportunity to use Japanese. Even you don't know the sentence structure, just speak and make many mistakes.
That might be like the best way to improve, to make mistakes.
Yeah, many mistakes like makes your Japanese more better.
And the best part about italki is that you can choose any time that's best for you. And you pay per lesson. Lessons are affordable and flexible too, so it really fits your budget and schedule. There's also the new italki Plus AI learning tool, which includes lesson summaries, flashcards and AI practices that will help you learn faster. And you can try it for free for a month. So if you want to give your Japanese a boost, click the link in the description to start your language learning journey today. And right now, if you spend $10, you will get $5 for free using the code Borderless or your very first lesson. But it's only for the first 50 users, so make sure to use code Borderless as soon as possible before it's too late. I really hope you can enjoy learning on italki as much as I did. Now, let's go back to the video.
What are the biggest cultural differences foreigners should be aware of when starting a business in Japan?
There's the concept of like honne and tatemai, which is, you know, the whole like, well, you're what you show and what you think, like what you really think, you know, and that's a really delicate balancing act. In any business here, I think people want to know that when they shake hands, they can trust the guy the person they're shaking hands with. When you do things like that, like it is noticed and appreciated.
Is that completely different than from the States?
In the States, you don't have to be sort of considerate of people's feelings. I think you can, honesty is more welcome.
In the States, you're thinking more about your own opinions, your own life.
Yeah.
Well, in Japan, you constantly need to think what the others are thinking.
Exactly. You know, it's a very important thing. As long as you can fulfill that, you know, I think that's your biggest responsibility when you're doing business here.
When doing business in Japan, two things really stand out. People avoid risk and everything relies on trust. That's true whether you work for a company or having your own business. But trust, yeah, that isn't always what it seems. And Terry experienced that firsthand.
Do you have any examples of things that you didn't expect in Japan?
I was running a small translation company with my ex-wife, and she went off to have our first baby. And then I was left with the Japanese fellow, and he decided that he would go into competition with us. That was a bit shocking. Because I thought Japanese people were supposed to be loyal and I was paying him well. And so that was quite not only shocking, but depressing.
Loyalty and trust are huge parts of Japanese work culture, whether you work for a company or running your own business. But as a foreigner, you can't assume that everyone will treat you fairly. You still need to be cautious.
How did you solve that?
I then happened to pick up a magazine at a friend's office while I was waiting for my friend to finish a meeting. And it was a magazine from Hong Kong advertising electronic components. And I thought, oh, that's something I know how to do. And I started flicking through it and I noticed all these new things called laptop computers. And that started my computer import business. So that fellow leaving the company to compete forced me into a different direction. And instead I built a multi-million-dollar IT company.
Wow.
And so in that way, it becomes not a depressing event, it becomes a learning event. And learning is always good, right?
As a business owner, you need to adapt because there are so many challenges. But what are the biggest ones you should expect?
What were your biggest challenges?
The problem with being your own boss is that you have to be your own boss.
This was like the most difficult part in having your own company.
100%. And it is a measure of discipline.
When I started doing multiple things, so events and PR and writing and photography, videography, my unique selling point started to like dilute. So people started to get confused. What am I doing? What am I offering? Because realistically, there's only so much that one person can do. That was, I think, tricky to explain to people what I am doing in Japan.
Because you kind of did everything, it was really difficult for your clients what your business was about.
Yes, exactly. To be very, very honest, I still haven't solved that problem. But the first, 2, 3, 4 years, I think it's really about just doing whatever it takes to sustain your business.
What was the most difficult part of getting your very first client?
It's not that difficult to find customers. It is difficult to sell to them. Selling to companies requires effort, and the trust factor is usually the hang-up.
They need to know who the face of the company is. And they need to know who the face is, and they need to establish that trust.
You wouldn't trust somebody that you haven't done business with before. You wouldn't trust them if they haven't been in business for more than 5 or 10 years. You wouldn't trust them if the company was smaller than 100 people.
But once they establish that trust with whoever's in charge, whoever's taking responsibility, they can feel more comfortable moving forward.
They don't like to take the risk with new partners?
Right. This is the least risk-averse society. It's a 4-letter word in a lot of ways. I know so many people who took years to build relationships and to get to where they are, because it takes years for them to establish that trust.
How exactly did you get your very first customer? How did you establish that trust?
I moved to Tokyo in 2023. The entire year I didn't work. So it was really going to events, going to networking, putting just my name out there, just offering help for free basically.
Showing yourself and getting that trust.
Exactly. All of a sudden people started noticing me and they were like, hey man, your name is everywhere. Everyone on LinkedIn is tagging you. We see your pictures.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's how like my network started to grow. Once you have your first paying client, and a lot of people underestimate that, you are on the right track because someone already paid you.
What not many people know is that you have a special visa. Can you tell more about it?
In Japan, I was the first one to get the visa called J-Find. So if your university is on the top 100, you can apply for that visa. But to my surprise, I was the first one to receive the visa. So everything was new. Even law firms, they didn't know about the visa. So when it came to like opening a bank account here or getting an apartment, it was a complete mess.
A complete mess?
Yes, I couldn't open a bank account. I couldn't get an apartment.
That sounds horrible.
However, in hindsight, I think that is one of the best, most powerful visas for young entrepreneurs or, aspiring business owners who want to come to Japan by themselves, who can stay here for 2 years and figure out if they want to start their business or not.
How does your visa work?
The visa, how that works is the government gives you 2 years time to prepare your business. But also, if you decide not to open your business, you can get a normal job. So you can apply for jobs, you can work. Once you find a company, you have to change your visa to an employee visa, basically.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, so that's why this visa is perfect, I think.
So you've already been living in Japan for more than 18 years. How difficult was it to get PR?
So there's a few different paths. If you are married to a Japanese person and you have a child, it can be, I think, 3 or 5 years when you can apply. If you are on the highly skilled residency program, I think that's what it's called, there's a point system. And if you have enough points, you can apply and you get. So there's a lot of paths to PR.
What path did you choose?
I went through sort of the 10-year path, which is if you worked here for 10 years, you're eligible. They're looking at have you paid your taxes? Have you paid your health insurance? Are you earning enough money to support yourself? And maybe less importantly, but not unimportantly, are you contributing to Japanese society? That's sort of one of the standards. And there's no way for them to explain what that means.
That sounds difficult. You kind of need to know without actually knowing.
Right.
Can you actually make a living while running a business in Japan?
Well, if they're successful, yes. It's not an overnight success. It's much easier to make money by working for somebody else.
Your income obviously is totally dependent on what you're doing, but it's pretty easy to set up a good life here. Yes, the economy isn't that great at the moment, but food is still relatively cheap compared to a lot of countries. I mean, $2 for eggs. That sort of stuff is pretty affordable. The public transit system in Tokyo is wonderful. There's national health insurance.
Your income could be low, but you will get a lot in return.
Right.
What's one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Probably I would have spent more time learning Japanese. Yeah, I would say that's the main thing. Everything else had a reason. I'm not sure that I would change anything. What I might do is that I might remind myself that for every up there's a down, and every down there's an up.
That's a tough one. So okay, from the like logistical perspective, taxes, doing your taxes and your accounting and all that, it's not that hard to do it by yourself.
Are you sure? That sounds like the most difficult and tedious part of having your own business.
Okay, if you speak the language, it's not super hard to do it by yourself. I'm using taxes and accounting as an example, but this really goes for any bureaucracy, red tape, whatever in Japan. It's not impossible to do it by yourself. And I think a lot of foreigners, and especially people who are getting into opening businesses and that sort of thing, they may be afraid of it because of the language. It may be frustrating. It takes time. It is a process, but the more agency you can take over your career and your business and what you're doing, the better off you will be in the long run.
It may seem daunting, but
Right.
you will get a lot of in return.
Absolutely.
And is there any advice you would like to give to foreigners who like to move to Japan, or maybe even starting their own business?
I don't really have advice because every business and every person is different.
You don't have any advice?
Of course, we can say something generic like do your best.
If you move into another country without an employer, you have to go all out. You have to do whatever it takes to, to put yourself out there, to make a living.
Man, I mean, there's so much advice I could give, and part of me wonders how qualified I am to say this, but like before you get started, take the time to understand, one, what you really want to accomplish, and two, who your audience is. You need to invest so much time into planning and building relationships and then executing.
Like business is a people game. It's all really about people. No matter what you do, you just have to know people and know what they need. And if they need you, there's always work.
The more preparation you put into setting up in Japan, the better your experience will be.
Thank you so much today for this interview. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did learn a lot.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right. Well, thank you again. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you Oksan, Dan and Terry for today. So what is really like to start a business in Japan as a foreigner, and is it the solution if you want to move here? The truth is, it's not an easy shortcut. You will face language barriers, strict bureaucracy, and the slow pace of building trust. But for those willing to commit, it can be one of the most rewarding ways to build a life in Japan. And if you want to know more about these expats, I've put the socials in the description. I hope this video will help you on the journey to move to Japan. If you like this video, please click the like button. And if you have any questions about moving to Japan, please let it know in the comments. See you next time. Doei doei.